In today's astounding example of how every single politician seems to be for sale, I give you Gavin Newsom.
All right, up next, socialists are mad at Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom of California because he just vetoed a proposal for expanding unemployment benefits to workers who are refusing to do their jobs. Here's a TikTok from one angry activist who is very upset with Gavin Newsom.
All right, in today's astounding example of how every single politician seems to be for sale, I give you Gavin Newsom. Yesterday, it was announced that Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed the WGA and SAG-AFTRA-backed bill that would give unemployment benefits to striking workers that were ordered to strike by their unions. Now, this is not a bill or a law that is without precedent because it already exists in New York City, and they're looking at passing it in multiple other cities and states all across the United States. Gavin Newsom works more for the billionaires than he works for his constituents. He works more for the billionaires than he works for California. He works more for the billionaires than he does the working class Americans that support the Democratic Party.
So they are really mad at Gavin Newsom about this, and it's not just TikTok activists. We've got Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher, who is a former Democratic state assemblywoman, I believe, but she is now the head of the California Labor Federation, so she's a top union official in California. She put out a statement condemning Newsom after this veto. Today, the governor vetoed SB 799, a priority bill for the entire labor movement. SB 799 made striking workers eligible for the unemployment insurance benefits they'd already earned. This veto tips the scales further in favor of corporations and CEOs and punishes workers who exercise their fundamental right to strike. At a time when public support of unions and strikes are at an all-time high, this veto is out of step with American values. We will keep fighting until striking workers get the benefits they've earned. And it's funny too, the socialist magazine Jacobin put out a piece slamming him for this move, saying that Gavin Newsom is anti-worker purely by choice, saying he's selling out workers by killing unemployment insurance for striking workers. So, Hannah, I found this backlash mind-boggling because what they're advocating for is unemployment benefits, which are supposed to go to people who can't find work, to go to people who have a job. They are not unemployed, but are simply refusing to do it. Have I hit my head? Like, am I hallucinating or something?
No, I mean, I was today years old when I realized this was even a thing. I had no clue that when workers went on strike that they were getting unemployment benefits. I'm not sure.
Well, they are in California. They do in some other places like New York City, but they aren't getting them. But they were trying to add this, and the legislature passed it.
Okay, and so then he vetoed it. Got it. I had no idea this was a thing. This is absolute insanity. I also have to call out the fact that this woman in her statement said that unions are at an all-time popular high. Ma'am, based on what? They're at an all-time low membership-wise, and that is because you thugs can no longer force people to join you. And that is thanks to really great pushback policy like right-to-work laws that are now on 27 or 28 state books. It's thanks to Supreme Court decisions like the Janus decision that said unions cannot forcefully take money out of your paycheck. And it turns out when you don't force people to join a union, the vast majority of people don't want to. Again, I repeat, all-time low participation rates. I think it's under like 6 or 7% in the private market right now. Now, public sector unions, whole other ballgame. But talk about the private market. There's no basis for that whatsoever. The strikes have been incredibly unpopular. They have soaked billions up out of the economy already. The Hollywood strike ended a couple of weeks ago, and that I think was estimated to have taken $4 billion out of the economy. Now you have the auto workers who are striking in Michigan. That is already taking at least $1 billion out of the economy. This is disgusting. I do not support unions. I don't support strikes. And as a whole, I certainly don't think you should get paid unemployment when you are choosing to not work and choosing to stagnate the economy and choosing to make prices go up, all because you don't have negotiation skills or the actual skill set to demand more value in your pay. And so you're holding people hostage. I have no respect for it. I'm glad to see this. I am so curious, though, about Gavin Newsom's action. This is one of many actions he's taken lately that make me think, when I hear people on the left say he might be jumping in 2024, I'm like, maybe, because it's atypical for him, right? I mean, and again, it's common sense, but I don't expect common sense on the left when it comes to unions. These are the same people who supported AB 5, which essentially is the PRO Act we've been railing against at the federal level for some time in California, where they came in and tried to basically make it illegal to do independent contracting or work as an independent person in their market, right? Because they wanted to force people back into 9-to-5 jobs so that unions could then force them into paying dues, because California is not a right to work state. You can still be forced to join a union in California. So I'm really curious about the political winds that are making him take this kind of action.
Yeah, well, he put out a statement explaining his veto, and he cited the fact that, quote, the unemployment insurance financing structure has not been updated since 1984, which has made the unemployment insurance trust fund vulnerable to insolvency. Any expansion of eligibility for unemployment benefits could increase California's outstanding federal UI debt, projected to be nearly $20 billion by the end of the year, and could jeopardize California's blah, 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 more policy stuff. The long and the short of it is basically California can't afford their existing unemployment benefits. And so to expand them even further when it's about to go bust makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
The other thing is expanding it would hike taxes on employers potentially and hike state interest payments on the debt. So for all these reasons, it would have all these consequences. So that's what he's citing for. He says, I support workers, I support strikers, but for those reasons, I'm not going to sign this bill. It's common sense. I think he was probably lobbied pretty heavily by like domestic or by state associations for business and different industries and such that donated to his campaign or whatever, but I don't care so much, whatever. I'm sure his motivations are cynical or political or whatever, and I don't really care. He made the right decision here. And I think, look, I have nothing inherently against private sector unions or against striking. You don't have to work, like you do have the right to refuse to do your job. What you do not have to have the right to do is to expect to still get unemployment. When you have a job, you're just not willing to work. That's not what the unemployment program is for. It's for people who have lost work, can't find work, and are actively seeking work. And it's supposed to get them by in the meantime. It is a total grotesque perversion and an insult to taxpayers that you would ever even feel like you have the audacity to try to claim unemployment benefits while actively employed, but simply refusing to do your job. That is absurd. Union officials are just nuts. They're the most entitled people I've ever encountered. They feel entitled to just benefits to enable their refusal to do their jobs. They think they should be able to strike at no personal cost. No, I'm sorry. You're free to strike, but you need to live with the consequences. You refuse to do your job, you don't get paid. Like, this is just common sense.
It is common sense. And his statement actually makes me feel hopeful that maybe, I've been saying for a while, I think California is hands down the best state in the country. Come for me all you want. I don't care. It is the most beautiful, breathtaking place in the United States. I'm obsessed with it. I would love to live there one day, but I've been waiting for it to really have its reckoning day, right? Because at some point, something's going to have to give in that state, and they're going to have to start to turn back towards actual capitalism because it's gotten so crazy there. And it makes me hopeful that he's seen so many businesses fleeing the state, that there is such high unemployment right now that they're going broke. They can't even pay for the people who can't get work in their state, that maybe he is having to just restore some sanity to his governing there. And maybe that's the tide that we're seeing change. Maybe he's not trying to jump in to run for president. Maybe he's just recognizing that he's going to have to fix some things if he wants to see his state continue to succeed and be a dominant power player in the country. So I guess I'm a little hopeful in that regard, because I would love to see us take California back. I can't believe we gave the socialists the best state in the country of all states to let them take over. It was Republicans were just, I don't know what they were doing in the 70s and 80s, but I have a bone to pick with them over that.